Whenever you're ready.
Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch the Third, coming to you live from the palatial home studios of Bald Spots Productions here in the beautiful city of Santa Ana, California. Joining me, as per usual, in studios, my friend, my brother in Christ, the disembodied voice of Rudy.
Hi, everybody, I love you all. Waka, waka, waka with the Lord.
And joining us from a more than acceptable safe social distance through the miracle of telephony is my guest for this very special episode of Not Quite After Midnight, Tony J. Selimi. Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Hey, hello, Bill. I'm extremely well. How are you?
I am wonderful. Just having a great start to a great week. I think is what we're doing. What we're doing right now.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. I'm very excited to get to chat with you more. The last episode was really great. I can't stop talking about it. And with you and Richard Blank of Costa Rica's call center. And you both have been great guests so far. And I really wanted to get the opportunity to dig a little deeper into who you are and what you do.
It would be a pleasure.
I hope so. Um, so just as way of introduction, you are a world-renowned and highly in-demand business and life strategist coach. Is that correct?
Yes,
To
that's correct, Bill.
put it into a sentence.
Yes.
But look,
Sometimes a sentence does the job.
sometimes it does. So tell me, how did you get into coaching in the first place?
Since I was a kid, I loved helping people. And I remember as a child, I was playing at my dad's garage, and I had this DIY garage. So I turned my dad's car garage into a place where I was experimenting, fixing things, and I would have the community bringing all electrical goods for me to repair and sort out. And I always used to enjoy the smiles and the hugs and thank you and the gifts and I would say all the cooking and the cakes they would bring to thank me for repairing those things. But also, living in Macedonia back then in former Yugoslavia, it's in a communist kind of country. It was very different life to the life we experience today, and there are so many issues and observing injustice, first and foremost in family environment, then in society, then in schooling. Um, there was a part of me I always wanted to do something more to help people in need. So this, in today's world, we call it coaching. In ancient times, people would go to the priests and confess.
Mm-hmm.
Other times we go to friends and speak. And I think every form of expression to somebody we trust, somebody who can create the space in which healing and transformation can happen, it's what I call coaching. But there's an art to it, there's a science to it that can really create incredible results when somebody dedicates, like myself, their life to actually understanding different aspects of who we are,
Mm-hmm.
both spiritually, mentally, emotionally, in our careers, socially, in our family environment, but also in the environment in which we live. And sometimes we can thrive, and other times, if the environment is toxic, we can actually end up being suffocated. So, throughout all of those challenges that came one after the other, I started building a lot of skills that helped me to be able to fix many problems for people. So, having worked in technology for almost 17 years and fixing many, many, many tech issues for different companies, both private and public, um, I drew a lot of parallel in the work that I did in cognitive behavior, neuro linguistic programming, and psychology, mindfulness, spirituality, healing, and quantum physics, and I wanted to bring it all together. So when eventually I left the world, I started my coaching, training, and speaking company, and I have never stopped ever since.
How long has that been?
It's exactly now 10 years actually that I'm doing this full
Wow.
time company. So it's in 2012. Between 2009 and 2012, I was doing a lot of tech jobs, and I used the money that I was earning in from those different contracts to actually build my coaching business, write my first book, put the methodology together, build my brand, and then reach out to so many people out there, and then started really making an impact, which I never imagined I would.
Wow. Yeah, that's the impact is what's important because I also do a little bit of coaching. I do leadership development in a with a an ethical leadership model is what I call it, and it's just incredible to see transformations happen when somebody changes their direction. It's just so satisfying to see those changes. Um, what would you say has been your most unusual client today? The
Oh my
most
God.
unique.
Well, there's unusual and there's unique. They both start with you.
Yeah.
And you know, I believe for every human being it's unique, and
Yes.
every problem it's unique. Therefore, it's sort of, if you ask me where I made the greatest difference,
Yeah, that would be good.
for for sure. I mean, if I take a client who I transformed their business and I grew it to a multi-million pound business, I will say I helped them make a huge, huge difference. But we can never put a price when you save somebody's life.
That's true.
And I'm getting emotional about it because there's been so many clients from around the world who have approached me at the point in their life when they were at their lowest. And having been myself many times at my lowest, uh, it's almost like God sends you somewhere where that person needs you the most. And I remember a client of mine, which I can even share his name, Paul McMonagle, who works in oil and gas industry. He approached me after I did a big speaking engagement. And he simply said, I'm about to commit suicide. You are the last resort. And I heard so many wonderful things about you and your books and stuff like that. And if you don't help me, I already left a note for my parents. You can't put price to when you change somebody's life, that you save it. We forget how precious that is. We forget how precious life is because we're so busy into trying to build our businesses and provide for our family, for our friends. We forget the one most important part, the sanctity of human life.
Yeah, when we were together before, we talked about the value of human life, and yeah, we need to definitely need to put more emphasis on that. That's what my leadership model focuses on is how we treat the other in our
Yes.
lives, and yeah, that's amazing that you were able to help him overcome that. That's
Yes, I mean
brave on your part.
I'm not sure how much you know about my work, Bill, but
Hmm.
also I'm a healer. I've been
Yes.
doing healing work for almost 30 years.
Wow.
So when you combine the skills, business skills, psychologist skills, and hands of light skills,
Mhm.
it's incredible the effect that I see in my clients. And uh, I've had the pleasure to work with some people where pretty much we're talking about from anxiety, addiction, depression, cancer, other mental health issues, OCD. And usually, when I work with anybody at the CEO level and leadership level, celebrity level, usually it's those human emotions and experiences. It's the biggest blockages that I see from them being able to go out there and really shine.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I want to get a little more into you, if you don't mind. Now, you're from, well, Macedonia,
Yes, well,
ancient
now it's
the
called,
ancient land of Macedonia.
yeah, the Alexander the Great.
And what country was it again that you were born in?
Back then used to be called Yugoslavia,
Okay,
but not Macedonia. It was one of the republics of former Yugoslavia,
right.
and I was born in a little town in Western Macedonia called Gostivar.
Rostiva. Okay,
Yes.
I like it. It's lovely. What was it like growing up under the communist regime?
Well, when you don't know anything different, Bill, it's very difficult to compare.
Mm.
It's only back then. I mean, with what we had, I had a great childhood. Reason being, it's, I had great family. My
Mhm.
parents were hardworking people, restaurateurs, and also we had a farm. So I had the opportunity to learn so many different skills in the farm and in the restaurant business.
Okay.
And, it's sort of then the community was very strong and we had a huge family, and also I learned three languages from like age 4,
Wow.
and I was able to communicate in three languages and being able to do all the maths and the alphabet and everything else that usually people start learning when they go to preschool at school
Mhm.
level. But you never think about those things until later on in life,
Mm.
when you reflect the power of having those experiences and the lessons you learn through those experiences. But one thing I always used to wonder about is life, origin of life, God, and why do we have so many versions of God, and why do we have so many versions of religion, and then philosophical things, and looking at the stars, and looking at astronomy, and looking at the biology, looking at sciences, maths, and how do I put all of this puzzle of life together? And that's been something that's been following me since I was a kid.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. You're certainly one of the most well schooled and probably one of the most intelligent guests I've had on the show. Uh, it but so tell us about leaving Yugoslavia. When did you leave?
Well, I arrived in London September 1990.
Okay.
So, I remember, my life was saved because this is when the war started in Yugoslavia, just a year before it started in Slovenia, then it happened in Croatia. And then, in 89, I was mobilized by the former Yugoslav army and I was trained a soldier at a very young age. My dreams of being at university at one of the top university engineering universities back then in former Yugoslavia in Zagreb were crushed, and suddenly I saw everything I knew crushing before my eyes. My entire identity, the country, people, and stuff like that. So, as my life was saved, my mother borrowed some money and put me on a one-way flight ticket to London, and then I arrived in London. Um, in a country I knew nothing about. I couldn't speak the language. I had no friends, no family, nobody to turn to. So I didn't know which horror was bigger, the one of leaving my family behind and the horror of civil war, or the horror of facing alone a society you know nothing about. And all the judgments that come as a refugee. I mean, we've seen this, every time there's a crisis out there, war in the world, we have higher migration, refugees, and it seems like governments use the most vulnerable people to drive their votes, and without really considering the human life behind, and the sacrifices of those people. So that was something, back in the 90s, I used to, observe how on earth can papers write about refugees when they know nothing about, but also write some really derogatory comments. And, I remember in some headlines were almost like, put them back into Auschwitz. And, all those kind of comments you read and you hear people say really can crush you. You're not only crushed coming from a trauma, coming from a war, But then when you go into a country where you're hoping to rebuild your life, you face another challenge. So it was difficult, Bill. It was difficult.
To be sure. I've had a little bit of experience with because I grew up in a military family, and so we moved every couple of years, and there was even a time when the only people I knew were my immediate family, because we were moving every few weeks, and and yeah, it can. I mean, thank the Lord for my family, that they were there. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to move into a completely new place with absolutely no one. Um, it's unbelievable, and I don't think most people have a clue what it's like to start over.
Yeah,
And so you've definitely accomplished a lot. In those early days, being in London, who ended up helping you? Who did you work with to get
well, the
started?
reality is, in the first few months, I was doing a lot of charity work, meaning
Okay.
I would do any job that I could see around, like cleaning the streets, helping
Mm.
people with their garden. If I saw like elderly people carrying shopping from the supermarkets, I'll take their shopping and carry them home. I will
Wow.
help them clean their homes. So anything that I could do to help people. And eventually those people started helping back. So, it's every human being that I met on that journey. And my even when I had nothing to give, I made sure I gave something. I made sure I found something to give because I always put others first and their needs. And my parents were like that. So when you go through things, when you see people in more need than you are, I was healthy young boy. Yes, I had trauma, but I could work and I could give those people all I could. So it was those people then started opening up doors, and I started having jobs that paid me, and I started using proportion of that money to get back and have a roof over my head, and eventually get back to schooling, and then spend the next 8 years working with no holiday, with no break, and put myself back into schooling and pay for my education, pay for my university, and graduate from one of the top 4 universities here in UK. So it was a journey that it teaches you many lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and also life tries you in ways that you'll never think about, that you are strong enough to overcome those battles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thinking outside yourself. That's powerful. To give first. There's a coach. He's since passed away. Named Zig Ziglar, big in the U.S. And he used to say, yeah, he used to say something to the effect of, if you to get what you want, you just have to give enough. You just have to give enough people what they want.
And I
And
could not agree more
yeah.
with that. It's I've read some of those Zig Ziglar's work and many other wonderful teachers, and I found myself in their stories.
Mm.
I found myself in their books, so I can never, say how important it is for many people to read books and read books of many authors. And
Yeah.
why? Because those people have gone through things that can help you truly, truly change your life. And for me, reading has been something that I was encouraged from a very young age, but also mentorship and coaching and having teachers around me. So after I got myself off the street and I graduated and I started having a reasonable income. I continued with my coaching. I continued with my development, spiritual development, and I sought some of the best teachers around the world to help me answer those questions that they've been part of me since I was a kid, but also how to bring everything that I've learned into products and services so I can help more people.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've led quite the life. Um, so you went to school for as an engineer.
I did a dual degree, both engineering and organizational behavior and
Okay.
management, which means I studied psychology and I studied engineering.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, similar paths here. I started out as an automotive engineer. I wanted to design cars, and
Well, cars get you somewhere, coaching gets you somewhere, so there's a path in there,
yeah, yeah. But yeah, as it was organization. I think the earliest class that started drawing me in was probably organizational behavior, and
Yes,
yeah,
and that's what I studied, organizational
yeah.
behavior, but then studied many other disciplines, and
Mhm.
equally, I wanted to really find that link between science and spirituality and
Yeah.
understanding those unseen things that a lot of people are unaware of and how they affect us.
Mhm.
And also, I had to use those two worlds for you to unlock your true potential as a human being.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in the end it comes down to being a puzzle freak. I like assembling puzzles, and when you can take the pieces of someone's life. Oop, you okay, Tony?
I'm back.
Oh, okay.
Do you
Sorry,
see?
lost you there for a second. But yeah, yeah, when you can take all the pieces of someone's life and put them together and see that beautiful picture that they make, along with alongside everybody else. That's yeah, that's really I think the reward of coaching is being able to see all that stuff put together into a whole that's just productive and reaches their potential. So, but
Absolutely.
um, what are some of the what would be some of the books you'd recommend people starting with? What? Wait a minute. Let me rephrase. What books do you think people need to read? Like if there were like two or three that absolutely they had to read.
I think The Secret is an incredible book.
Okay.
Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you
Yeah.
take those two books. Um, you know, every book that I've read, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're reading for personal development, whether you're reading for spiritual development,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're reading for marketing, business, there's something inside of you that is driving you to read that book. So I always say to people, make sure you have a notepad next to you
Mm-hmm.
and write down everything that brings tears in your eyes when you read somebody's book,
Okay.
because that's a great indication that whatever that person is sharing, it's speaking to your authentic values.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I look back at, book after book after book after book, it becomes very difficult for one to um, say this is the book that really changed my life, because I believe it's the accumulative effect
Mm-hmm.
of everything that you learn, and when you synthesize that into clear lessons that you can use to change your life, it truly changes your life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And yeah, I've often heard that you are the average of the five people you spend the most time with, and so that's why I'm certainly glad to be able to spend some time with you.
What about me?
Yes, you too, Rudy. But yeah, what would you say about that? I mean, should we be hanging out only with the people we want to be like, or what about the people who we want to change to be like that too? You know, to reach their full
I,
potential.
it's a great question, Bill. I believe it's not who you hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've heard that many times, and there are times that I would agree with you. But from my personal perspective, it's who you choose to be in the presence of anybody who's around you that truly matters.
Okay.
Not only for you, but for anybody around you.
Mm-hmm.
It's for me, it's a false idea to tell yourself that surrounding yourself with five topic successful people, your life will change. It's my life has changed on so many levels by so many people. And of course, it's great to have mentors who you aspire to. And,
Absolutely.
I have them myself and I continue to have them because I always say there's an incredible value to that. But again, I point the finger back at me, at myself, who I choose to be when I'm in presence of anybody that truly matters and that defines you, how much inner work you have done in order for you to be present with anybody around you, regardless of your perception, how successful or not they may be.
Absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with you on that. Yeah. Yeah. We as people need to choose a better path, a better way. And,
Yes, I mean, it's, today we are fortunate because there are so many things one can do to choose to grow and to create a better path. And that better path, when you create that in yourself, of course, anybody around will benefit from you.
right.
But we often have become selfish to our own personal emotions and needs.
Yeah.
And it is this that comes in front of so many people's greatness. And it is that the greatest barrier that any teacher or human being out there has to face. It's not the barriers on the outside, it's the barriers on the inside that we need to dissolve and truly shine our true light.
Right. That is our shortcoming as a race in humanity. That we think of ourselves first. I once argued that there was no other ethical consideration other than egoism. All people are self-centered. Um, the only hope we have as humanity is to become enlightened egoists, to realize that the good of another is actually our own good, that the rising tide does lift all boats. And so that if I help you, you may never help me, but you'll help somebody else who will help somebody else, and that will help me. And as long as we keep paying it forward and thinking of others, then that is our own best self-interest.
I think when you learn many different scientific concepts and principles, one I
Mm-hmm.
would love to share,
Yes.
uh, following up on what you just said, Bill, it's a law of one to many and many to one.
Mm-hmm.
So one to many means whatever service you do to many people, and that service from many people will come to you. And usually, what I see the pain and frustration that gets created by many people is they want that return back from that specific person, specific individual, specific event. But universe doesn't work like that.
Right.
And sometimes, as you said, I think I often like when I look at the struggles of my life, and sometimes even when I look at the mirror, is how on earth I survived, and how on earth then I ended up creating those incredible opportunities. I just came back from Hollywood. I got a great award down there for the Unfakeable Code and for the Path to Excellence. Off to Miami to receive an award at the Miami Book Fair. I met some of the top celebrities. I've got client celebrities. I coach some top leaders, royals, all of those amazing people. I sometimes wonder what is it that about me that is unique. And I always also give credit to my parents because my parents helped so many people, Bill, especially during the war, especially when the war was in Kosovo, when all these people were ethnically cleansed. My mom and dad opened the doors to refugees, and they fed them and looked after them for almost 2 years. So the impact of that, I only saw it when my parents died, when so many people came to their funeral, and people I never met, and people who would tell me many things, and especially now being in the public eye myself, about recently, I was in Macedonia, in Kosovo. I did some training and client work down there. And also, I had like 5 TV shows, which are very major primetime TV shows. And when I got back, I usually don't check my Facebook messages. I have a team.
Mm-hmm.
And also, some of the messages go into the spam folder. So I've trained my PA occasionally to go through the spam folder and to check. And she found a message in Albanian language and she doesn't understand, but I trained her to copy the message, put it on Google and try to make sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then she WhatsApped me and she said, Tony, you better see this. I don't understand it fully, but it brought me so much tears. I could not stop crying reading the message. So here I am going back into my phone and checking the message, and it was from uh, a a guy who now lives in Germany, who he stayed at my parents' house when he was 2 years old, when my parents took his family as refugees in our house. And he recognized me from the pictures he saw in my parents' house as a boy.
Wow.
And then he asked, his father was murdered during the war, and he asked his mother, saying, is this the guy that his father was talking about that he was in London? And I called them, and it was this incredible sharing and emotional phone call. When somebody says thank you, because back then whatever I was earning and I could stuff, I would send it to my parents to support them, but also support those people that my parents were supporting. So this is that one to many, many to one, that we never know the kindness we give, the service we give, where it truly goes and who needs it the most. But our perception may be I just gave something to Bill, or here I'm being interviewed by Bill, but who knows who's listening out there who may take something from my story or from your story, from my words or from your words, and really change their life. And that's the power of transformation and kindness, and being able to give without expecting back from somebody that you want something back.
Yeah. Yeah. Wanting an immediate reward is so short-sighted. You know that you know yeah, we help people because it's the right thing to do, not because we're going to get a reward from it. At least that's what we should be doing. Uh, yeah, too many people like to get their praise from men, as it were. Um, yeah. But let's see. How many books have you written? Now,
Uh, I've published 4 books,
okay.
and I've authored 2 more books. So in total, there are 6 books.
Wow.
And A Path to Excellence just came out now about 2 months ago.
Have to
And the audiobook would be out by end of this month. So basically, by end of this month, it will be available in it's already available on print and Kindle. And in some audio channels, it's also available as an audiobook. And so I already started planning to write 2 more books for next year.
Wow. You are definitely a maker of things. Um, let's see. People can find your books on your website on TonySelimi.com.
Yes, they can find the
Okay.
books and more about the books on the website, but simply if they just Google my name, they'll find them all. But if they go on Amazon, they'll also find all the books on Amazon. They can find them on their local bookstore, Barnes and Noble, if they want to go and get them in there. So
Get
for
an actual
those who,
paper book. Wow.
yes, so, when people ask me what's better, uh, having studied many different things, I realized that our senses need information, and our senses are 5. So we need information through all those 5 senses.
Yeah.
And when we read books, I always say to people, if you want to maximize it, have a printed copy, have a digital copy, have a Kindle copy.
Mhm.
And it's sometimes many of my clients and readers when they travel, especially those in US, when they travel through those like big motorways and queuing for an hour or two on the motorways, it's a perfect time for you to listen to a great audiobook.
Yeah.
So, I have people just calling me sometimes saying, "Guess what, Tony? I'm listening to your audiobook." And it's a great feeling when somebody does that. And I think that's why I encourage people read and listen, because reading will give you something else, listening will give you something else, and together they really can reprogram your mind for the life you want to create.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll put the link to the website and in the description so people can find you easily. And don't want to keep you too late. We've been going at it for quite a while. Is there anything else you would like to say to the nice people?
Well, what I would say, it's like what we started this conversation is, if your life is not where it is, and if you go to bed and you have so many worries, and also sometimes you have big dreams, take daily action and have a clear plan of where you want to go,
Yeah,
whether it's in business, in career, in your relationship. But first and foremost, daily choose to be um, a better person. Choose to be somebody who shares love, shares wisdom, and gives hope to anybody who's around you.
that sounds like good advice. Well then, I really do appreciate your time. I know you'll be back. I think in January is when she's scheduled before, and which is awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I don't even know who you're going to be on with yet.
I look forward to it. I love conversations and I love people. And, meeting Richard and meeting you and having this
Mhm.
very wonderful interview. As I said, I always draw parallels to people because all of us have something in common. Because when we go into serving other people,
Mhm.
and we all learn from each other and we all support each other. And, we can use those lessons and whatever we share with the world to help as many people as we can together.
Yeah. Yep. Help as many as you can. Get as many people what they want. So eventually you can get what you want. Is a better world, and hopefully that's a better world.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Tony. It's been great chatting with you again. And
It's
yeah, just
it's a
be.
pleasure, of course.
Well, thank you. Um,
Thank you so much, Bill.
my pleasure. Thank you. And yeah, be safe out there. Remember to wash your hands. Yep, got to keep them clean. And for all the rest of you, stay tuned for the ending credits. Thank you all for tuning in. Like to this is of course has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank my producer, my beloved mother, Eileen Hatch. I of course am your humble host. I'd like to thank my special guest, Tony J. Selimi. And if you feel so led, support the show over on Patreon. We're Bald Spots Pro. That's the name of the production company. And don't you dare miss YWL Online, new shows on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And yeah, tune in next time for Corey Nathan and Dr. David Sheen. It's going to be an interesting show. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, whatever you got to do to kick that algorithm into gear so we can reach more people. I appreciate it. And once again, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great one ever.